Southern Cameroon is not a conquered territory. Southern Cameroon is not a colonial territory of La République du Cameroon. Southern Cameroon is a sovereignty of a sovereign nation that has been deprived their right, their status, and they choose personal opinion. And that is opinion become the policy in which we all, the people of Southern Cameroon, totally reject those personal opinion to become the U.S. policy. Of course, the United States would need to work with people and not with other way around. So we will continue to see what is his vision towards the people of Southern Cameroon and Ambazonia. In a moment like this, when we see our fellow brothers and sisters are being killed like animals by foreign nations just because the world think otherwise. However, we will continue to think and see what is his African policy in this critical moment. I know United States is a very strong government. It has a sound policy, and but however, I know they're faced with crisis, especially the global pandemic, which is the top priority for this administration. However, Africa will not be left out to be part of a global priorities that the Biden administration and his entire leadership team must have to focus, work closely with Africans, the people of Southern Cameroon, to first of all forge ahead a meaningful and sound policy. You must first of all start here in the United States. The people of Southern Cameroon see us here as the initial first step to look into the global issues, crisis work happening in Southern Cameroon. So therefore, I think the first step is to look for the leadership here in the United States and speak to them and see what is the problems, because by ignoring these key fundamental principles, maybe it might affect its visions. So however, I will continue to thank the newly appointed leadership for African Affairs, Mr. Robert Godec. But anyway, stay tuned. I'm going to be talking more as we come. Thank you, and do not go away. Stay tuned.
The issue on the Anglophone piece, I won't go into detail on that. I think the article plus the video this morning did a very good job of explaining the history of how it got to the point where we are today. In October of 2017, when it came kind of to a head, the Anglophone states said we want to actually form our own state, the Ambazonia state. There have been issues there with atrocities, issues with allegations of law of war issues, and this is something that it brings all this to a head. Over the last several months or so, the State Department has put on hold several security force assistance programs. Right before the election in October, I, with the ambassador, went and paid a visit with President Villa, and we had a very direct conversation with him with regards to investigation of these atrocities, transparency of these atrocities, and appropriate battlefield behavior. Since that time, the State Department has made a decision not to allocate significant money, but at the same time, they've released some money that's been on hold to things like Scan Eagle and Cessna aircraft that assist in the Boko Haram fight in the north. We still have programs that we continue with them, all kind of small engagements as well as exercises. We talked about the state partnership program with Nebraska. We put that on hold, and in conjunction with the ambassador, AFRICOM, we decided not to pursue that because it wouldn't have been a good place for that particular group to be, so we put a halt to that. So the bottom line is right now in Cameroon, they have been a good partner with us counterterrorism-wise, but you can't neglect the fact that they have there are alleged atrocities and what's going on there. And so we continue to take our cues from the State Department and from the ambassador, and our level of engagement will continue, but not get out ahead of what the State Department would say is if we have to take other actions. We were very emphatic with President Biya that the behavior of his troops, the lack of transparency, could have a significant impact on our ability to work with them.
Great.
Thank you. I'm sure you listened to that. Is the former commander of AFRICOM speaking about the crisis in southern Cameroon. We cannot speak, and I want to also welcome another important person in Biden administration, and that is the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, and you see her in the images. That is the new U.S. permanent ambassador to the United Nations. You know, before you can talk about the Southern Cameroon, I am sure that the new cabinet leadership will look into this crisis more with an open mind. Because when failure to look it with an open mind could be a systematic consequences for failure to do so. Before looking at the crisis, first, Southern Cameroon is not a conquered territory. There is a great distinction between the people of Southern Cameroon and the neighboring country, La République du Cameroon. I know people phrase the word separatist, that gave the lavish of La République du Cameroon to terrorize the citizens of Southern Cameroon indiscriminately. And that is why you see the various embassies, except the U.S. embassy, that has been very strategically working closely. The rest of the other embassies has been silent, and none of them. You can listen to the previous, the recent killing in Cuba. For the first time in history, the French ambassador condemned the action right there, as though they are not fully aware of what is going there, as though they are not the perpetrator that are supporting the regime in Yaoundé. Our people of Southern Cameroon was never a conquered territory. Our people of Southern Cameroon is equally. They came into what is so-called a union. I do not understand what kind of a union. But however, they did not come as a conquered territory. They come as people of equal strength. Imagine, first, I want to make it clear, when the United Nations in 1960, under the French administration, presented La République du Cameroon as an accepted member of a new nation to the world, Southern Cameroon was not part of that document. Southern Cameroon was exceptionally different. So therefore, by making a mistake as the former U.S. Secretary of State for African Affairs, in front of the U.S. lawmakers, dispute the claim that why not recognize the people of Southern Cameroon as a distinctive sovereign nations. Of course, the people of Southern Cameroon is a distinctive sovereign nation that has their own structure that is contrary to La République du Cameroon. And they have shown, by refusing deliberately, intentionally, by the State Department not to recognize the people of Southern Cameroon will be a systematic failure of the entire system. Because the people of Southern Cameroon, Ambazonians, in 1961, when the British administrative authority presented Southern Cameroon, La République was not part of that legal document. In fact, the people of Southern Cameroon exhibit a distinctive future of a self-governing and elected officials transfer of power to another elected officials, in which this aspect, La République du Cameroon has not in any circumstances exhibit this behavior like any nations. In fact, Southern Cameroon is the first of its kind in West Africa to be able to elect a prime minister in the 50s and in the 60s, to transfer that elective executive power to another elected executive power. It began first with Edel, that became the first prime minister of Southern Cameroon that was duly elected by the people of Southern Cameroon and was transferred power to the next elected government, which is Jongo Foncha. In fact, Endele respected the newly administrations and he became the leader of the opposition member of parliament in Southern Cameroon. Subsequent again, Foncha lose another elections and transfer power to Ngumjua. It was first of its kind in West Africa to see a democratic institution taking place in Southern Cameroon. La République du Cameroon has not in any circumstances demonstrated this capability to be able to transfer power from elected officials to the next since till the present moment. First, there was a democratic institution that was taking place that was led by the UPC that was disbanded by the French because of its sound policy of unity. But unfortunately, France carried on what they call the genocide, the guillotine. Guillotine is the famous word that was developed by the Louis XVI, if I'm not mistaken, in France, where several key members were executed in the form of what they call a guillotine. That form of guillotine was instituted in Douala by the French, France. And so I cannot see why a government that has never transferred its leadership and become a so respected government that they believe that they should be able to control a more democratic institution, the government of Southern Cameroon. We, the people of Southern Cameroon, question this validity and the argument presented in this case of Southern Cameroon. And so we will continue to argue on these facts. The people of Southern Cameroon do not cherish working together with the foreign nation, La République du Cameroon, a government that has no legal and fundamental institution in place that respect the rule of law as a factor. In fact, La République believes in what they call a civil law system. And that civil law system is a law in which every individual is considered guilty, otherwise the proof otherwise. And coming into the Anglo-Saxon system of the common law system is incompatible. And so La République systematically uproot this fundamental value of the system of Southern Cameroon and replace it with a repressive Francophone system in every aspect. First, they go by the rule of decree instead by the rule of the people elected their own leadership. So by decree, they can suppress. That is why you have a governor that was appointed, a Francophone governor, that had been suppressed the people of Southern Cameroon to control every aspect of the people of Southern Cameroon. And so this is a systematic thing that we continue to present to the Biden administration and the permanent representative to the people, to the United Nations. In a leadership at the United Nations where it is totally a corrupted system. You know, this reminds me of former President Bill Clinton. When Bill Clinton came to the United Nations policy, he realized that there was a systematic corruption in place, and that was led by the former Secretary General, Brutus Ghali. And Bill Clinton said over his watch, he will allow those policies to go through under his term. He vetoed and called for a new administration leadership at the United Nations. So I think this could be also a vision for the United States and the current administration that to look critically, does the United Nations need to be cleaned up? It needs a totally sweeping cleaning up so as to keep the administration in a sound mean policy, not just for the United States, but for the rest of the world and including Africa as well. In a system at the United Nations where there is a total corrupt system, it's a totally corrupt system led by that United Nations Secretary General, Antonio Guterres. There is a rampant bribery. There's a rampant bribery rushing there by the third world brutal dictatorship so to superimpose themselves. And France is the architects that finance all these aspects, systematically block every reform that can take place at the United Nations. And those strategy of France, one, first with Africa, he makes sure that the Secretary General at the African OAU, the so-called OAU, which doesn't represent Africa as a whole, is being occupied by a French citizen, that the former Fakira, the former Chadian whatever president or so. And so he systematically apply every policy that benefits France, block every aspect of discussion at the OAU. You see, there is a systematic failure in the entire aspect, and that is solely tied and glued to France to control. And when you look at the United Nations representative in Africa, it's also a French, and that occupy every aspect of meaningful debate or discussion that can be presented. And this is a systematic pattern that continues at the United Nations. And this is what I continue to bring attention that has failed in leadership until we began to look at this. And that is why you see that the African OAU leadership question the validity of the woman, the former leadership to the United Nations. She was a very smart lady. And her question for the validity of France control aspect of African representative at the United Nations. So she was forced out of her office as a permanent representative to the United Nations because France asked the OAU scribe to remove her. And so this is a systematic effect that you can watch. What is going on in Africa. And so for the Biden administration to be able to succeed, they must first of all start doing what they call a cleaning up campaign. This cleaning up campaign will clean the mess that's already in place so they can have a foundation for an effective leadership that can be able to resolve the issues, crisis surrounding the world. So now looking about the southern Cameroon, you saw the map just below me. That's the map of the southern Cameroon, and looking in between me and the U.S. permanent representative at the United Nations secretary is the vote that was voted at the United Nations headquarters in 1961. Those are the numbers of names that voted, or nations that voted to recognize the people of Southern Cameroon as a distinctive sovereign nations. So the people of Southern Cameroon, there are 8 million inhabitants. So why is it that they cannot be able to govern themselves? They must rely on the control of a foreign nation, La République du Cameroon. So those are the systematic things that the people of Southern Cameroon question the validity. Of course, they take up arms. They take arms because the people of Southern Cameroon has asked for dialogue, and La République has not in every aspect demonstrate showing honesty. They select a certain individuals, appointed them, including mentally deranged individuals, people like Paula Tangaji, placed at the central administration, and they are there for their own personal interests. They are not in merit. They are not people that represent the people aspiration of the people of Southern Cameroon. And this is a systematic divide and rule system that you place an individual in a position and that you control that aspect of that individuals, and you assume that that person represents the aspiration of the people of Southern Cameroon. And this is a systematic failure that continues to persist, and that is why I'm bringing this attention to the Biden administration to understand that for the Biden administration to succeed is first of all to recognize that the people of Southern Cameroon has got enough of La République du Cameroon, and they want to have the self-government of its own, a government that represents the aspiration of the people of Southern Cameroon, and not just individuals superimposed upon the people of Southern Cameroon being the leadership of Southern Cameroon. We are mature enough to be able to govern ourselves, and we know what is an effective and efficient government, and not some individuals, an old oracle that has been placed and thinking that they represent the aspiration of the people of Southern Cameroon. Stay tuned, don't go away.
cela et qui le dit. Maintenant, ce sont des bandes, comme je dis, des bandes criminelles armées qui profitent de cette situation-là pour terroriser la population, pour arracher de l'argent à la population par des actions de kidnapping, n'est-ce pas? Par des actions de viol.
Au sein du camp, à quelques centaines de mètres de la salle de conférence, un hangar à l'écart. À l'intérieur, un petit aperçu de l'arsenal séparatiste récupéré ces derniers mois. Des armes et des munitions, mais aussi des tenues de miliciens. Au sol, une panoplie d'armes à feu et d'équipements de communication. Mais ici, voici la vraie nouveauté, les bombes artisanales.
Sur cette première ligne-là, vous avez des canons de fabrication artisanale qui utilisent des munitions fabriquées aussi de manière artisanale. Ce sont des munitions qu'ils utilisent contre nos véhicules sur le terrain.
You know, the people of Southern Cameroon, how do we arrive here? How do we arrive here? For many of you who don't know why is people of Southern Cameroon, why they never have a defense force in this first place. First, the British government stated, let me see.
Establish some Potemkin institutions. They weren't really doing anything to bring the two sides together. Could you elaborate on that? Because you ran out of time before.
Sure, yes, sir. I understand the Cameroonian government established several commissions, and I'm sorry, I don't know the exact name of it, whether it's the Multicultural Institution for National Reconciliation or something, which on the face of it, and there have been a couple of these, but they have not been provided adequate budget, and they have not really done anything. Because what the country needs more than anything else is a genuine, open dialogue, probably to include the diasporas of the Cameroonians, because they have a great deal of interest in this. Because, sir, what's happening, both sides are becoming further and further radicalized. Unfortunately, I believe that the president of Cameroon is being told by his hardliners that he can win this thing militarily. There is no way that they're going to win this militarily. The violence is going to get worse in the northwest and the southwest. The arm for an arm, literally an eye for an eye, and the whole world will be blind there. the violence will spread to the West Province. It may even spread to the Littoral Province, which is the large city of Douala. So there has to be something. We are very, very energetically speaking with our allies. That's why I said that we just had in the Security Council this Monday what the United Nations calls an ARIAS, where it's an open debate, and it's so clear that everybody wants to move forward on this. Are sanctions on the table? Everything's on the table moving forward. But we have to bring this situation to an end. Else, there's a possibility of what happened in Nigeria with Boko Haram. Started as a small movement, and now look at it. And it'd be disastrous for the region if the Cameroonian government turned this thing into yet another type of Boko Haram.
Or Boko Haram could come back into Cameroon. Well, how do you mentioned, that it appears to be spiraling out of control because the more the security forces clamp down, the more resistance there is in the Anglophone region. So what can we do that we're not already doing?
Well, like I said, the best we can do for right now is just work with our allies to really make the Cameroonian government understand the need for a real dialogue. And if that doesn't happen relatively quickly, then we have to look at the array of other tools we have in our toolkit, because, frankly, the possibility of sanctions is always there. But it's always better to work in concert with our friends before we go in that direction, because the frustrating thing is it is in the interest of everybody to have a national dialogue. The situation will not end militarily. Each day, the atrocities will get worse and worse.
Is permanent separation of the two regions a possibility?
Sir, I don't believe so, because I think that most Cameroonians, including in the Southwest and Northwest, have a sense of Cameroonianness, and the concept of separated.
I'm sure you are listening. You are listening from the former Undersecretary for African Affairs. He injected his personal opinion and believed that his personal opinion is valid and should be a distinctive policy of the United States. And he indicated, as you all listened, that people of Southern Cameroon believe in Cameroonness. Well, in the world, would he think that the people of Southern Cameroon believe in Cameroonness? I don't think so. And how do you expect him to claim that the people of Southern Cameroon believe in Cameroonness? I don't think so. I don't think the people of Southern Cameroon welcome to live together in harmony with La République du Cameroon. Of course, you have all witnessed the demonstration here in the United States. No one can turn a blind eye with the effective demonstration that has occurred in the entire United States, including Washington, D.C., demonstration in front of the White House to show their deeply frustration with the administration on the foreign policy related to the people of Southern Cameroon. Demonstration in UK, demonstration in Germany, France, elsewhere around the world, and the continued demonstration in Southern Cameroon. A total operation goes down permanent on Monday as a traditional behavior, showing that no one is able to circulate on that particular day. This systematically show, but unfortunately it didn't make any significance to the Undersecretary Thibault Nabi to recognize that the people of Southern Cameroon want their sovereignty to be recognized, and that you can forge yourself your personal opinion on your failed system or leadership to be accepted to be the major principles. The people of Southern Cameroon were deprived of their sovereignty to be able to govern themselves. So govern themselves is the key. Living together with La République has never been effective. In fact, they've crumbled the economy of Southern Cameroon by La République du Cameroon. The financial aspect has all been rendered destructive by this French-led system. Of course, you all listen to the British policy in which they ignore the fundamental questions despite the fact that they've been living together with the people of Southern Cameroon for this length of time. They would have been well vested that when nations are seeking for self-governing, there's no way you can control, is to work out with them and see what aspect there is a harmony of working together. The people of Southern Cameroon do not, in any circumstance, will welcome to live together with La Republic under the same umbrella in a total destructive or dictatorship system. The people of Southern Cameroon believe in an open, transparent, democratic institution. That value has been demonstrated. And so it should have been shown the world leaders to understand that the people of Southern Cameroon in any way choose to live together with the neighboring country, La Republic du Cameroon. So by deciding that that is the brand philosophy of the United States, that would be a serious mistake of the foreign policy of Biden administration, is to first recognize the people of Southern Cameroon that right, they're self-governing, that was deprived of them by the British government. So it is the time that they look in an open mind. Stay tuned. As you look at the leadership of Southern Cameroon, that is the Prime Minister just underneath of me, is the Prime Minister of Southern Cameroon. It's not just an ordinary building, it's the Prime Minister's Lodge that has hosted 3 Prime Ministers of Southern Cameroon: Endele, Foncha, and Joao. Why do they think that the people of Southern Cameroon leave their sovereign nations and live under the umbrella of a Francophone-led regime? Because they are interested in the mineral deposit in Southern Cameroon, not on behalf of the people of Southern Cameroon. That is why they're using the football match as what is going on to show their solidarity, that they love the people of Southern Cameroon. There's no way you can demonstrate that La Republic love the people of Southern Cameroon. That is a mistake. We have been living with them. We knew who they are. And we do not, in any circumstance, welcome La Republic du Cameroon in any discussion or living together under one umbrella. As we welcome the new Biden administration, the first thing is to look at what relationship does the people of Southern Cameroon have with La Republic. That's why just below I post the executive arm of government of Southern Cameroon and the image that you can see. And I also have the Prime Minister's Lodge of Southern Cameroon. The United Nations vote. La Republic was not part. Instead, La Republic voted against that document that was initially voted at the United Nations. France persuaded its allies. France persuaded its allies to vote against the sovereignty of the people of Southern Cameroon. And that is why you look critically. All the French nations voted against the Southern Cameroon. But unfortunately, the people of Southern Cameroon secured an overwhelming majority, and that nation was proclaimed. So therefore, in order to solve the problem, is to reverse and look back what went wrong. Because when you look at what went wrong and you look at the critical document, then you have a fundamental base of discussion about the Southern Cameroon. By ignoring this key document, Article 1514 XV of the United Nations Charter, ignoring these fundamental key questions, ignoring it, it's the fundamentally wrong, projected to the wrong aspect by fortunately believe that the people of Southern Cameroon must live under the umbrella of La Republic. That is a totally mistake if the leadership of the US government choose that pathway. We believe that our people deserve their own government. We don't mind the distance that we have lived with them, but we are willing to start back from zero and start systematically build the future of Southern Cameroon to the better of the people of Southern Cameroon. We don't believe that we can be able to work together with the La Republic du Cameroon. It's an insolvent country. An insolvent country that has no vision for itself. Of course, you saw what happens today. At least 50 people have been killed in a road accident, and yet Those are the roads that should have been done pre-century ago. But unfortunately, none of them has any aspect of development. But they choose to be in leadership just for their personal wealth of their personal family, not for the nation as a whole. And so we, the people of Southern Cameroon, doesn't see that aspect as a way of moving forward. So let La Republic live on their own and let the people of Southern Cameroon live on their own. We will be able to interact as a good neighborliness. And that is the way moving forward. And I want to thank everyone that is watching. And we look forward to working with the new Biden administration. And for the prosperity of our people of Southern Cameroon, is total complete separation is the key moving forward. This is Comrade Fondon Daniel speaking here from the great state of Texas here. And I want to thank all of you, fellow brothers and sisters in Ground Zero. I want to wish you all the best.